Hey guys, what's going on? Hope you all are doing well today. Elliot here. Welcome back to The Fragrance Well. So no long introductions here. Let's just get right to it. You see the thumbnail, you see the title. Creed, Absolu Aventus, First Impressions. Let me be very clear. These are my first impressions. I know the fragrance has been out for a little while now. Plenty of people have given their thoughts or given their reviews on it. I have not watched anyone talking about this fragrance because I wanted to have my own thoughts on it, and I just experienced it today. Just ran to Bloomingdale's to take care of some other stuff, and I figured while I was there, let me go ahead and get my nose on this now. I knew when the fragrance was going to be available in stores. If I was free that day, I was going to go check it out. I wasn't free, and I've been busy ever since, or just haven't had a desire to go to the store to check it out, so I'm a little late to the game, but I got my nose on it today, and I figured why not go ahead and give my thoughts on it right away. So the fragrance is on my skin here, and we're gonna talk about it, and I'll just give my thoughts on the fragrance. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so Creed, Absolu Aventus. This was obviously a heavily anticipated fragrance release from the House of Creed. They are basically finally giving a real flanker, if you will, to the original Creed Aventus. You could argue that they've been doing flanker after flanker since it's been slightly different experiences with the fragrance ever since it first came out. I personally can't speak to that. I haven't smelled any iteration earlier than I guess the 2020 batches. I'm not sure which batch I have, or if they've come out with a different batch since then. But all that being said, other than Aventus Cologne, there hasn't really been an Aventus flanker from the House of Creed. So they finally have given us one, and it's pretty much was anticipated to be maybe a slightly richer, cool weather version of Aventus, basically. So got it on my skin. I was standing at the Creed counter, and they were servicing some other people there. Someone actually did get a spray of this on a tester strip. I actually picked it up in the air at that moment, and you know what? I was like, hey, it smells pretty nice even from way back here, but got it on a strip. I was like, that's interesting. Let me go ahead and spray it on skin. And I gotta say, look, it smells good. It smells really good. It is Aventus. It's an Aventus flanker. It's giving something a little bit different. I would say it's a kind of a richer, creamier, even, maybe not creamier necessarily, but fuller, richer, slightly spicier take. The pineapple is there, but maybe a little less emphasis on the pineapple. Certainly not as smoky as the original iteration of Aventus. So it's just a warmer take on the Aventus DNA. And it does smell good, man. I have been running some other errands after it's been on my skin. It's been on my skin for maybe 2 hours now. And while I was just doing my other stuff, I could pick it up off my arm without me having to do this. So I would say it does fill up the space nicely. I did look up the note breakdown for Absolu Aventus. I would say probably the biggest difference is going to be that addition of the cardamom and the cinnamon. Probably the two things that stand out the most. Also the ambrox and maybe the labdanum in the base of the fragrance. The base notes, I think, make up the biggest difference versus the original Aventus. Since I've only had it on for a couple of hours, I can't say if the fragrance is a super long lasting one. I do think that is something they quote unquote try to address. Me personally, I haven't had horrible performance with the version of Aventus that I have. I think it lasts as long as I need it to, but that's neither here nor there. I know some people want it to last longer, or have said that the older version used to last a lot longer. So it is what it is. I would say with the addition of ambroxan in this version, you probably can expect it to at least give you some decent performance out of it. Now, the almighty important question is this fragrance worth picking up? Now, I'm gonna tell you right now, that is up for you to decide. I'm not gonna tell you whether or not it's worth it for you. What I will say is, to me, at first, I can't necessarily say that it was worth me picking up. I know it's already been coming out on discounters, frankly, for a heavily discounted price, given what it does go for at full retail, but it's still expensive at that point. But here's what I have to say. Personally, I think it is a little too close to Electimus's Imperium, which I have a sample of. I don't have a full bottle of. I actually just used up the last little bit of it in here. I did spray it on here. But I would say it's not exactly like this. Imperium is a little bit more of a candied kind of sweetness to it. You could almost say maybe a little bit more juvenile compared to what I get from the Absolu Aventus, but I think it's kind of walking that same lane where it's kind of a warmer, sweeter take on Aventus. There might be some other versions of Aventus inspired fragrances that do that, but I can say from a price standpoint, what you can get Imperium for, I think it kind of gives you the same thing that Absolu Aventus gives. So for me, I probably would just go for that rather than pay the price tag that this commands. That's just kind of my first initial thoughts. I'm also gonna share what my thoughts were when when Creed actually announced this fragrance. In my mind, it was too little too late. They waited too long to do a different flanker version of Aventus because everybody else has already given their takes on it. I mean, we've got every different kind of take you can think of for Aventus already out there, even if they don't necessarily smell exactly like Aventus. They're Aventus inspired. They're Aventus style fragrances, and we've got ones that feature leather in them. We've got ones that are sweeter. We've got ones that use some slightly different notes that maybe don't focus on pineapple, but they still have that vibe to it. And I think it's just a little too late for Creed. And in my mind, this needed to be something that was going to be completely different from all the other ones that have taken their piece of the pie of the Aventus pie, if you will, for it to really impress me. Now, the fragrance is good. I think it is good. I do think they did a good job with it. But for me, it's kind of close to Imperium. So that is kind of a failure in my mind. Also, when I first sprayed the fragrance on, I was kind of thinking of Mind Games as a Blockade. Now, I haven't smelled Blockade in a while, and I don't have an actual sample of it, and I should have went to the store to Neiman Marcus to go smell it real quick just to compare it, but it wasn't that serious to me. But at first, I was getting Blockade kind of vibes, but I might be wrong on that. But as it dried down, I definitely got Imperium from it. So again, it's like I think they just failed in that department. I know there's a lot of variations of Aventus inspired fragrances out there, but I think Creed should have done their homework and said, like, look, we've let all these people do their own version of Aventus. We have got to make sure we put out something that kind of stands on its own, and I don't think they did that. But anyway, that's just my first initial thoughts on the fragrance. Is it good? Yes, it is. Does it command that price tag? I don't think any of them do, but that's for you to decide, and it really doesn't matter. People are still gonna buy it at full retail, doesn't matter. But if any of you guys have gotten your nose on Absolu Aventus, feel free to share what your thoughts are on it. If anything I said was similar to what somebody else has said, then it's just a coincidence and our noses are simply working the same. Like I said, I did not watch anybody else's first impressions on this. These are my first impressions. These are my thoughts. All right, so that's it for today's video. First impressions of Creed Absolu Aventus. I appreciate you guys watching all the way into the end. Remember to be well and smell well as always, and I will see you guys in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.